an understanding of the international context. For years, I worked with students that were actually preparing to go abroad to study. And so I understand how brave you all are for exploring opportunities in Canada, and can understand some of the concerns, hopes, and aspirations you might have. So know that we're all in this together. And so this expert panel is being hosted by Devon to support you. I just want to briefly share our history with you so you know how we got here. So Academica Group has been around for over 20 years. They're the largest company providing research, consulting expertise to colleges and universities in Canada. They focus on student recruitment, student success, and career development. Academica started Devon because they saw the challenges and the opportunities that international students and recent graduates like you all have when they are looking to establish successful careers in Canada. So the word devant is a French word, and it quite literally means to be in front of. So we believe that our services and support will bring you in front of the rest in your journey to stay, work, and succeed in Canada. As international students, we have seen the commitment, resilience, and adaptability you hold within you to be out in front of any challenges and circumstances you may experience when finding employment, especially during uncertain times. Devon is an organization tailored specifically to cater to international students with the expertise of over 60 years of combined experience working in higher education and career development. So folks, Devon is entirely set up to provide assistance to folks like you. And without further ado, I'd love to introduce you to our expert panelists today. I invite them to show their faces real quick and say hello. So we have SULA Krillis. Hi, SULA. SULA will tell you a little bit about being a consultant. She's a partner at PricewaterhouseCoopers. We have Bonnie Wong. She is our internship program lead at Oracle NetSuite. Hi, Bonnie, welcome. And we have Savannah Garcia, who is an enablement lead with the new graduate program, also at Oracle NetSuite. So welcome, Savannah. And we'll start with Bonnie. Hi, Bonnie, welcome.
Hello.
So Bonnie started her HR career as a recruiter at State Farm Insurance and progressed to an internal recruitment consultant role to manage human resources projects. So these include her work in training more than 100 recruiters to use LinkedIn. And this is something that you'll learn a lot about today as well. She was interested in working with students and joined the SULA School of Business at York University as a career coach. And there, Bonnie was able to design career programming to help BBA and master students launch their career in technology. Bonnie joined Oracle NetSuite last September to build their internship program. So Bonnie, welcome. We're so excited to have you with us today. Given your extensive experience with students in the university and college context and leading these internship programs, I feel like you would be really well positioned to help us understand, what is technology consulting?
Thanks so much for the introduction. And I'm so glad to be here. And especially you as the audience, that you took the time out of your busy day with summer courses or your part-time role, or just relaxing over the summer to dive into the management consulting and technology consulting side of things. So I will wear my career coach hat because it's always going to be within me. I still remember the conversations that I had with students one-on-one on how to break into tech consulting. It seemed like a maze of so many different tracks, and how can we get that key to open that door? So hopefully for tonight's session, that provides some ideas. So thinking about technology consulting, if we break it down into 3 aspects, because the client is coming to you, as a technology consultant, as their trusted advisor. So I'll use NetSuite as an example. So the three aspects of really understanding the NetSuite product. And second, adopting the implementation methodology so that for technology firms that they have a set processes in how to onboard new clients, from gathering the requirements from the business, as well as how to optimize the software so that clients, they really get the value after purchasing the product. And lastly, it's about developing relationships. Because again, as that trusted advisor, the clients are coming to you on, I'm interested in purchasing NetSuite. I sign on the contract. Now, these are the problems that I have. Help me use this software so that I can close my book faster. I can predict my inventory so that be able to increase profits. And how, as a consultant, be able to walk them through the process. Because I talked a lot about there are different tracks in consulting. So as I wear my career coaching hat, really develop your own career shopping list. So if you love teaching and training others, NetSuite has a education consulting roles. So actually my colleague Savannah, she was an education consultant, and I'm sure she'll tell you all about her experience there. So yeah, because as an education consultant, it would be after implementing the software on how we can develop the training plan so that, let's say 100 users, they will be excited about using the software. So it's a lot about change adoption, what you learn in change management class and in your HR classes, hosting webinars to teaching how to do the different use cases. So that's the track if you enjoy teaching, training. And second, let's say you love meeting clients, learning about their business requirements, so that we recruit for functional associates consultants. And their role is that, again, it may be speaking with a VP at a small firm, learning about their business workflows and optimizing the software for them. Or as you progress and take on bigger projects, it may be dealing with a CFO at a mid-sized firm and be able to bring them on board to using the software. So as consulting, and we'll definitely dive in more about this, it's really about having that soft skills, and that the companies will train you all about the products and the methodology. And lastly, let's say the track of you have programming experience and you enjoy meeting with clients and customize the NetSuite functionality using JavaScript. So again, go back to your career shopping list, see what you enjoy, and be able to check out the different tracks in education consulting or functional consulting or the technical consulting aspects.
Thank you, Bonnie. I was taking some notes on what you said, and I've just shared it in the chat with folks. I want to let you know that we have over 80 attendees today, so I'm already getting a lot of questions in the Q&A. I invite folks who want to raise their hand, maybe put your questions in the Q&A so that we can go through and answer them. Bonnie, that was really helpful, like understanding those three aspects. And I love that career shopping list, like to understand what we really love and what we're passionate about. So, in understanding what technology consulting is, how can students prepare for a career in technology consulting? What's something that you can share with us about students' preparation?
Yes, because back to my career coaching days, it was like the chicken and egg scenario. It's like, how can I be a consultant if I don't have the consulting experience?
Oh
So,
my God, yes. That's like always my number one question. How can I go into this work if they want experience and I don't have any experience and I want you to give me my first experience opportunity?
yes. And I was sharing with students that really wear that student hat and act like a consultant while you're in school. And what I mean by that is, like, if you think about different activities, let's say winning case competitions or applying to be an executive at a student club, then all these bullet points on your resume, it provides supports on these are the results that I could deliver as an exec of a student club because I led 5 people to recruit new members and we got a 20% increase. So with these accomplishments, then can really enhance those stories that you can share through your networking as well as for your interviews. And as a student, because what I mentioned about acting like a consultant already, if you think about your top 2 favorite projects in school, and you wanted to expand that, and let's say you develop your own research project on how might fast-growing retailers deliver an omni-channel experience. That's your research question. So that this gives you an excuse as a student to connect with consultants and see how they are interacting with clients to solve this problem. And second, you can go to the library and let's say access Gardner Research Database to see the top 5 firms in the ERP space to address this problem. And lastly, can check out different podcasts, let's say NetSuite, to hear what the clients are struggling with and how consultants are solving those challenges. So with the competitive research, connecting with consultants, and really immersing yourself in that lingo of speaking like consultants so that you can publish your opinion, your project work on LinkedIn, and definitely be able to participate in more case competitions and gain some leadership experience. So to extend your reach that way. It's like learning a new language. If I don't speak French, it's like, oh, how can I learn my basic vocabulary, hang out with more Parisians so that I become more fluent in French, so then become more like a Parisian and speak fluently in French. So think about it like that in consulting, about developing your expertise.
I think I captured, Bonnie, everything you said and shared it in the chat. Thank you so much for like that very student focused approach to how we can really understand what technology consulting means and prepare for a career in that. So Bonnie, thanks so much. And I know you mentioned, your colleague Savannah and the space that she's also worked in. So I invite Savannah to join us. Hi, Savannah.
Hello, I'm so excited to be here.
Me too. I'm excited for you to be here with us and share your experiences with our participants. So, folks, Savannah Garcia is an enablement lead for the Customer Success Associate Development Program, teaching and providing guidance to new hires through their onboarding program. So, really key at the early stages of entering into this space. Savannah has been with Oracle NetSuite for about 3.5 years, beginning as an education consultant, as Bonnie mentioned, which entails training clients in the NetSuite product. So with past experience in client-facing roles within the hospitality industry, then transitioning to tech, Savannah has been able to develop a successful education consultant onboarding track for incoming education associates. And Savannah, that's really encouraging to see that you were in a different industry and you've transitioned into this one, because it also helps folks recognize that their skills being built in any industry are applicable and can be a key contributing factor to their success in technology consulting and management consulting. So Savannah has graduated from Cal Poly Pomona from California, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, I'm also from California, with a Bachelor of Science in Hospitality Management, and has NetSuite certifications for Suite Foundation, Suite Analytics, and NetSuite Financial User. So welcome, Savannah. So excited to have you with us today.
Thank you.
Hearing about your transition, how did you start your career in technology consulting after graduating in a different space?
Yeah, I'm really glad to speak to this because it sounds like one of the questions is, how do you get into consulting? And I'm here to say you can come from any background and still be a good consultant and get into tech. So like it was mentioned, I did work in hospitality, in the hospitality industry. I was specifically front desk management before I switched over, but Oracle NetSuite was my second full-time job right out of college. So I totally know where everyone's coming from in finding a career choice. But going into consulting was a move I made because I wanted to learn more about the tech world, and I thought there would be a lot of opportunities, and that is definitely what I found. And so with the background of having customer service and being able to work with all different types of people and help people out, that's really what I geared my focus towards when I knew I wanted to do consulting. And just going off of that, I think it's important to consider how much experience consulting really does provide for you. First of all, there's people skills. You're able to meet people, train different types of people with different types of personalities and learning styles. You definitely will learn to listen and provide a solution. And then you also learn to understand different businesses and processes, as well as different company procedures, because you're working with, again, all different types of companies and all different types of businesses. So the consulting role really allows you to grow in such a broad way, which I think is awesome. So really, I just focused on, okay, what am I good at? Which was kind of customer service related. And I was like, okay, you know what? I think I can go for consulting. And that helped me grow so much more. So like Bonnie mentioned, I started as an education consultant, and then moved into an enablement lead position here at Oracle NetSuite, which really means that I now train onboarding. So I train all the incoming consultants. And again, they come from all different backgrounds, all different majors. And it's really awesome to see that everyone can learn and grow in this area, and they can master the product. It's just a matter of learning it. You can't get the experience anywhere else, I think. And so once you're on the job, that's the best way to learn, I think. Yeah.
Savannah, that was so helpful. I've actually shared some of those points in the chat. And so having that opportunity to interact with so many folks who are onboarding and you supporting that process, how can students maybe assess if they are the right fit for consulting, because you actually see folks coming in the early stages? What kind of advice would you give folks to be able to assess if they are the right fit for consulting?
Yeah, it's a good question. Definitely, if it's something you want to do, go for it. I would say that first. But there's definitely some qualities that I've noticed that I think really help someone excel in consulting. So I kind of have a list prepared. So first of all, if you're team oriented, that's going to be very helpful. You're going to be working in teams. Wherever you do consulting, you have to work with people. Someone's maybe going to be the team leader. Someone's going to be the one to list everything out and take the notes. So team oriented is definitely going to be helpful. Second, speaking of helpful, if you like helping others, this is the place for you. I think it's super awesome to be able to see people excel and learn a product and be excited that they've bought a product, and be able to see them come from where they started to where they are now. So if that's something that you relate to, helping people grow, consulting is definitely going to be a place for you. So also, if you like solving problems, hearing someone, listening to what they need, and then being able to create a solution for it it's definitely something that I think is important with consulting. And also it's just a nice, what I'm trying to say is I'm like losing my train of thought. It's something that is going to keep you on your feet. Consulting's not ever really boring because you're always learning and growing with the different clients that you have. So that's something I really liked about it as well. You'll definitely grow in communication and collaboration skills. I would say if that's something that you notice you have, then you're going to be a good consultant overall as well. Adapting to change, because your clients may be different each time, right? They may come up with new things that you need to solution. So adapting to change is important as well. Now, along with that, I would say if you like to learn, this is the place for you. And also being teachable and coachable is very important, no matter where you go, right? Not even just consulting. If you can be teachable and someone can coach you and you take feedback as a gift, that's going to be so helpful because you are going to grow no matter where you're at. That was kind of a long list, but I think those are all really important to consider. And I think they're easy people skills that you can apply, right?
Savannah, I love this taking feedback as a gift. You know, it's something that oftentimes in our work, whether as students or as professionals, we often get nervous about getting feedback, thinking that that's criticism and, oh, I'm doing bad. But I've recognized as I've grown in my career that I crave that feedback. It helps me grow. It is doing exactly what it's intended to do. You know, feed back some information for growth. And I think that's something I love, that taking feedback as a gift is something that I would have learned a lot from hearing earlier on in my life. And I love that you shared that, Savannah. So thanks so much. I wanted to actually share a comment that came into the chat, and I ask folks who are writing questions in the chat to please put it in the Q&A, like Andreas, if you could put your question in the Q&A. But a comment that came in, Savannah, was that, you know, this is really inspiring. Our students at Trios are often apprehensive about not having Canadian experience. So advising them to use their student experience, as mentioned by Bonnie and yourself, is really exactly what perhaps folks are keen to hear, that, you know, that they can use that experience that they're having as students, and that is an acceptable level of experience as well, and that any background, really is acceptable in the consulting space. So thanks so much for inspiring us and giving us that sense of hope. And I will, speaking of of inspiration and hope, I'll introduce our last panelist, SULA. And I say inspiration and hope because SULA is a very seasoned professional in consulting, and perhaps SULA, you can give us some inspiration and hope as you have spent so much of your career in this space, giving us an understanding of perhaps how we can move forward. So folks, this is SULA Curlis. She has a career spanning 4 decades in the field of organizational effectiveness that has in essence revolved around workforce transformation. And so I'm curious to understand what that means, which includes the work, the worker, and the workplace. Really something for us to think about. SULA has experienced approximately a 50-50 split between a career in corporate Canada, working for Bell Canada and Canada Life Group sorts of companies, as well as a career in management consulting, including with Deloitte, KPMG, Accenture, and currently at PwC. And folks, those are our top hitters with management consulting. So SULA, so much wealth of experience that you have for us. So SULA is also drawn to the type of work that fundamentally helps to improve business through people while providing a place for people to thrive. I love that. And SULA, of course, is a lifelong learner and has recently completed programs to be a certified executive coach and a certificate in applied positive psychology. SULA, I really think it's actually, originally we had SULA joining us and being our first panelist. But in fact, I think this worked out so beautifully where you are our last panelist to speak, because it really brings together everything that we've learned so far from Bonnie and Savannah. So SULA, with all your experiences in the 2 different sectors and spaces, what is management consulting? Like, what does that look like for us in the many spaces and years that have spanned your career?
Sure, happy to talk to that. And first of all, just to echo Bonnie and Savannah, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here and to share our experiences and maybe a little bit of our wisdom. And it can make a difference in just in your career search and in finding your path here in Canada. So an honor and a pleasure to be here. So thank you for that. So consulting, management consulting, and if I just digress for a moment, it's funny because Denis and I know, Denis, you're on somewhere, Denis Gravel. So we go way back to London, Ontario, when Denis worked at Fanshawe College, and I cannot remember your role there, Denis, but you seconded me into being a part-time instructor in their organizational effectiveness and organizational consulting program. So that was my first kind of foray into what actually is consulting before I even got into consulting. So that was, I was in industry in corporate Canada, working at London Life at the time, and I'm teaching this course on organizational consulting and management consulting, and I didn't really quite understand what it was.
SULA, can I interject? Because
yes,
that's actually how I started.
Did you?
Denis,
that's amazing.
Denis also involved me in a consulting opportunity.
There you go.
And I learned about strategic partnerships and this space. So such a good space for us to be with, connecting to Denis. Yeah.
Exactly. And a little bit of what happens in the whole world of management consulting is there's always a bit of, call it magic, serendipity, happenstance, being open to what might be and what might happen that can open up your world in so many different ways. So, just to get back to answering the question of what is management consulting, the textbook definition of what management consulting really is like, it's a professional practice, and it's about helping organizations and business to improve their performance, be more effective, solve, what we've called in our consulting world, those big, hairy, audacious goals, or problems, like just to really get at things that are either too difficult or take either a lot of time, there's like a shorter window, so we call it capability and capacity. So whether an organization actually has the capability or capacity to do this themselves is a decision they have to make, and often go to market for firms to help them in that process of solving those problems. So ultimately, management consulting, in my view and in my experience, is about helping solve problems and solve, just really becoming real effective problem solvers. And the problems, that would happen in an organization, again, looking at it from my experience in the professional services firm, they typically are business units that are, technology. I know Bonnie spoke to that a bit earlier: technology, finance, human resources, in marketing, operations. Could be from the top of the house working with a CEO on strategy and, what business segment should they be focused on? How should they potentially be organized? How can they become more productive and effective, et cetera? Or it could be a line of business or a department, or something very specific within. So it could be any part of an organization, a business. And management consulting services are used across all industries and sectors, from financial services and banking, insurance, capital markets. We've got government, federal, provincial, municipal, energy and resources, consumer business, et cetera. So, it's a profession that is required and has been leveraged across all segments of business. And as a person that works in this field of management consulting, when we think about what kind of, what drew me to this kind of a business, because again, I was in corporate Canada, worked for Bell Canada for 9 years, and worked for the Power Financial Group of companies, which is Great West, London Life, Canada Life, Investors Group, Mackenzie Financial, kind of all together at that time. And then I moved into professional services consulting. Is the ability to help clients solve their problems, to be part of something that is kind of bigger than yourself, or that you're actually able to make an impact in a different way in that business community. And I also like the nature of work. It's very fast paced, it's project based. You have an opportunity to start and finish something, and you see the outcomes of what you've been engaged in. You get to work with a number of different people. You learn from so many people. The accelerated learning that happens when you're in consulting and you enter the world of consulting is amazing. You'd be amazed at yourself at how much you grow in advance. Just, you'd think, oh my God, there's no way I could do this. And then, you look back, you're kind of on a little bit of a trajectory and go, I can't believe I went through that and what I've learned from it. So it is a phenomenal space to learn. Doesn't come without its challenges, and doesn't come without its ability to, you get your little dents in your armor, and you get your air popped out of your balloon. You know what I mean? Like there's, and it's about like 80% hard work and maybe 90% hard work and 10 to 20% glamour. Like there's, it's not an easy field, because you're constantly solving problems. You're constantly trying to think of you need to understand your client situation. I think both Bonnie and Savannah talk about this, like being really understanding and being immersed in the industry sector, the business context of the client, understanding their problems. So it could be, one project you might be working on a human resources problem, an efficiency problem, and then you might be asked to work on change management for implementation of the new technology solution. So there's a variety of capabilities that are required. Or not required, a variety of situations that can come up that require you to be flexible, resilient, very focused on research and understanding the situation. We talked about the ability to take feedback and that kind of thing. And those are some of I want to talk a little bit about that too, like some of the skills or some of the conditions in which you can be successful in this environment. But before that, I do want to touch on some other the skills. I know Savannah was talking about them, like the relationship building, and Bonnie too. The relationship building, becoming that trusted advisor is very key. There's a book out there called The Trusted Advisor, And there's a nice little equation in there that talks about 4 capabilities or 4 skills that are really important to becoming that trusted advisor for your clients that have stayed with me for, like, for my duration of my consulting career. It's about the ability to be selfless, the ability to connect, really have the interest in your client, to understand be competent at what you're doing, and be vested in the outcome and the solution. Like, I'm not exactly explaining it, the 4 elements of that formula, but I would highly suggest, people, if you're interested in a career manager consulting, to look into that book, or look into that formula called the Trusted Advisor. So I don't want to talk about, belabor it, but it is something I think very important. The whole notion of teamwork, we talked about that too, and being able to form to work as part of a team and be able to gel with others to solve these complex problems. The work moves so quickly, and oftentimes, it is a complex, problem, or just the pace or whatever it is. You cannot do things yourself. You have to rely on each other. You have to work as a team. So that competitive nature, whatever is that competition, needs to go by the wayside. Like, there's the collaboration, the willingness to help each other, to work together, to rely on each other is a key to success, actually, in surviving. And it's a bit of a different concept, because there's, we think about first among equals too. Like, you could be in a team where you're all consultant level, or manager level, or project manager, or senior manager level, whatever it is, and someone is vying to advance to the next level. You need to do that without being competitive. So there's a skill to that too, and that takes some time. And that really fundamentally comes down to having respect for each other, you being clear about your own personal goals and objectives, and not achieving them by putting other people down, right? So there's like a bit of a respect to that process. And some other areas around that conceptual ability. I think we've talked about being able to think about the big picture, understanding how pieces fit together within either this problem or the client situation, and being very detail oriented at the same time. So that's, that may come difficult for some people, but there's an absolute need to be detail oriented enough so that you can connect the dots between the conceptual idea with how it's actually gonna work. And there's some other areas of the reality of consulting, I think, that is really important. And that's, we talked about feedback. That is really important, because feedback comes from everywhere. It comes from your team members, it comes from your client, it comes from your project leader, it comes from, like other members of the consulting team. Like, it comes from everywhere. So being able to accept feedback, but being able to understand it and then apply it is absolutely critical. People who deflect feedback in a consulting environment, not a good thing. Seek to understand. And, if you don't agree with it, you can definitely talk about it. But there's always a kind of bit of a grain of truth to some kind of feedback that happens. And because the context moves quickly, and there's so many, it's very dynamic, that the feedback is a gift, as Savannah had said. It is a gift, and being able to accept it, apply it, and move on is critical to success. Knowing when to ask for help and raise your hand is actually critical as well, because a client is paying. We're on a different dime, so to speak. So trying to solve the problem yourself, or waiting for it to get perfect, could actually end up being your version of perfect, but not the client's version of perfect, or not what the firm thinks the version of perfect is. So being able to take it to progress work to a certain point, it's about progressing it. So instead of 70%, then you seek feedback and input, and then you continue to evolve and progress it. So those are that's actually really key. And also around personal brand and marketing. When you're in consulting, and you want to advance into the field, being known for something, and being having a reason for people to search you out is going to be key. So whether your brand or your kind of like your niche is around quality project delivery, or whether it's around deep analytics, or whether it's around implementing a particular technology, like a cloud solution, for example. You're an expert in implementing, I forget what Bonnie had mentioned in terms of that a Netscape, or not Netscape, whatever, it doesn't matter. Whatever that expertise is, and being able to talk about yourself and be able to promote yourself in a way that is not a boasting. That is also another skill that needs to be developed if you're looking at being in the world of consulting, because people would need to know why they're coming to you, why they need to come to you versus somebody else. And as I'll pause there, but I think, there's, all the skills we talked about, conceptual, analytical, research, those are all, very similar to the kinds of experiences and skills you're having as an international student. But what it means when it comes into the world of consulting is how you take it all and reflect it back to your clients and to your people that, the people that you're working with in for example, in any kind of firm, is, it's your ability to engage, interact, collaborate, promote yourself without alienating others, being able to talk about the feedback without getting crushed by it, but being energized by it because it's, again, a gift. And ultimately knowing yourself. And we talked about assessments. And I would say take anything you possibly can. There's so many assessments out there. Get to know yourself from all different angles so that you can be as authentic as possible when you're in the business of consulting. Because there's room for everybody and there's room for who we all are. It's just being, finding out who we all are, and what really interests you versus what drains you. And that's really important to know and understand, because that will come out in the world of consulting, because you pressure valves from everywhere. So I'll stop there.
SULA.
Talk a lot, I know.
No, I'm actually as I'm listening to you, I'm seeing the consultant in me. And it's really exciting because I'm hoping that folks on the call, all 70 plus of you are also feeling and finding the consultant in you. And I mean, that's my way. That's my, I'm saying that I really appreciate what you've said, because it allows for space to recognize my skill set, my strengths, and being able to know how I can apply that in these different spaces. And when you were speaking about what is management consulting and talking about the skills, the first two skills that you mentioned were flexibility and resilience. I would say that's the number one. Those are the top two skills that international students, folks who are newcomers, who've experienced migration, they by far anyone else who's not experienced that type of movement, folks who are on this call have that flexibility, that resilience, because they've gone through so many challenges to come to Canada or on their way to Canada, who are coming still. And this is something that I think folks should recognize, appreciate, and celebrate.
Don't
celebrate in the conversation.
Short.
Exactly. This is not a weakness. This is not where you fall short, but this is something where you step forward. You're Devon in front of the situation that perhaps you don't have Canadian specific experience. Perhaps you don't have experience working with the top big fours, but you have these key skills that bring you to the front. So I'm so excited to have heard you speak to that. I'm actually really excited in my own journey, because I know that consulting comes in many forms, and really excited to have folks with their questions to you. So Val is saying, yay, we all will be consultants. Absolutely. So we have a lot of questions that have come in to the chat and the Q&A. So I want to invite everyone. We still have some 10 minutes left to do some Q&A with everyone. So I invite Bonnie and Savannah back on their video. I want to share some comments that are coming into the chat, as well as as if you want, Bonnie, Sula, and Savannah, if you want to pick a question in the Q&A that you'd like to answer, I can ask you that question, or you can just read out the question and answer it. But some comments that have come in the chat that I thought I would share. Selma is saying, this is a good session. I've always seen myself as a management consultant, and I'll continue to work towards it. Really great insights here for everyone, and being able to leverage it will be key. And Sula, I know that you spoke about building your brand as a person in a way that I really love, because it invites humility. And doing that on LinkedIn is a great way, because you can build your brand on LinkedIn, you can build your network on LinkedIn. Savannah and Bonnie also talked about building content and publishing on LinkedIn. So these are really 3 key ways you can really build that brand on LinkedIn. So I'm really excited for folks to join us. We have LinkedIn sessions through Devon that folks can join us on. So do you have, Sula or Bonnie or Savannah, do you have any questions that you've already answered and would like to share for the benefit of everyone? Or do you have any questions? Have you seen any questions that have come across? I know Afra has asked Sula specifically a question. Sula, do you mind if I ask you? So Afra is saying, Sula, you have a fascinating background with experience in all of the Big Four firms. From your experience, what key differences have you noticed from each Big Four firm? And how would you say they compare against MBB?
Happy to answer. What is MBB?
Afra, I think that's a management and business, but I'm not sure. I don't know what MBB is, but let's start with the first part of the question.
Oh, McKinsey, BCG Bank.
McKinsey, yes.
Okay, yeah, okay, got it. So thank you. So the of the Big Four, so technically the Big Four includes Ernst & Young, and I have not worked there. So I worked at 3 of the Big Four, and Accenture is one of the technology firms, major technology companies, although they are trying to be a consulting firm as well to get more consulting. You know what? Each one has its own personality, but there's also a lot of similarities. And because the Big Four are audit and tax firms as well with consulting arms, there's an audit flavor that works through the firm, because we're regulated industry. And for example, each firm audits major organizations, including the banks and others. So we have to follow personal independence and compliance expectations, especially at a partner level. So it's very rigid and very strict. And as soon as someone gets into a manager role, because there's different levels, but as soon as you get into a manager role, then the expectations become even that much more pronounced. But every firm, so the firms are different in terms of scale, in terms of where and how long they've been in the business. So for example, Deloitte had a different management structure, and because of that, when the whole Enron scandal happened, however many years ago, and the audit firms basically had to get out of the business of consulting, because basically where the scandal was providing advice and advisory services to an audit client that crossed the line of conflict of interest. So basically the firms were penalized as a result. But Deloitte's business was structured differently, their consulting business, and they were basically able to continue to progress and advance in the world of consulting, while the other firms had to pull back, KPMG, PwC, and Ernst & Young. And they had to sell off, whatever consulting business that they had, et cetera, at the time. So Deloitte clearly is the largest of them. So they've a lot more advanced, and they're a lot more, they've got significant scale. But there's value in the other firms because they operate like a boutique almost, and being able to give more scaled, more boutique, individualized services and more personalized kind of interactions. So it's I don't know how else to kind of express it, but every firm is, if you want like more of, of a firm that focuses on more specific. So that was my husband just came. I apologize for that. The things of working from home, right? The perils of working from home. Like some firms offer more structure, more specificity around the kind of consulting opportunities, etc. Because they're so large, that's maybe like a Deloitte and Accenture, a lot more structured and specialized in the kind of consulting expectations and opportunities. The other firms are more generalized. So there's more generalist type of capabilities. So anyways, I can talk more offline if somebody wants to know more, but it kind of comes down to the culture and the fit, and if you know people there, and I mean, they're all amazing firms, right? They're all Big Four. So
absolutely.
Global. So anyways, I'll pause there.
No, thank you so much, SULA. I have a question for Bonnie that had come in. So Bonnie, how can a business graduate, someone with no tech experience, get into technology consulting?
Yes, I listened to Savannah and SULA about building your brand, how to break into the tech consulting aspect. It brought me back to think of it as that you're starting your own business. So when do I call Savannah's Consulting? It's when I need help with implementing an ERP system. I need help with training users. I need help with leading a project team. That's when I call Savannah's Consulting. And these are the 3 case studies that I demonstrated. So for the case competition, this was the challenge at the client. This was my approach to solve it. And this was the results. I won top 3. So that you can publish these 3 case studies on your own personal website on Wix. So that when we talk about networking, so that when you, let's say, reach out to a consultant, they're very busy. They may not take your call. But if they see your LinkedIn profile, it's like, wow, the students for Imran, he went out of his way to develop his own website. And I can see his 3 expertise in project management, leadership, and ERP implementation. And he provided me with 3 case studies to prove that. They will say yes to your LinkedIn invites because they want to recruit top talent as well. So that's one idea of really approaching this as marketing your own business. It's more like applying to a student club executive role. So when you're a first-year rep, let's say you want to get into the finance club to be a president. But first-year rep, you don't know a lot. You haven't planned any events. So how can you develop your expertise to create value for that finance club? You can recruit more new members. You can plan events so that you work your way up to speak that language as an exec. So same with consultants. Right now, you may not know a lot about ERP, but develop that knowledge and connect with more people and see how they're solving the challenges. Because right now, with your student hats, people, it's okay if you get things wrong. People are so open to just with your eagerness to learn. And but then you do your homework, as in when they provide you with advice, let's say SULA suggested the Trusted Advisor book. Read it and be able to share your top learning through LinkedIn. So be able to develop your brand and connect with people that way.
I love that. That's such great advice. And folks, all of your questions have been answered in the Q&A, so do take a few minutes to to review that. Oh my gosh. And as we go into a close, I invite you all to complete our mini evaluation, as you see has come in on your screen. And also on your screen, you'll see upcoming events taking place with Devon. We have the Devon Career Cafe, Wednesday, June 15th, 6 to 7, live immigration Q&A with an immigration lawyer, Zia Sumar, on Wednesday, June 22nd at 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern, and creating a target employer list for your job search on Wednesday, June 29th. So we're Wednesday, 6 to 7 p.m. crew here. Join us. Welcome to all. And our next expert panel in careers is in cloud computing with Amazon. And we invite you to that on July 6th. Again, for any events, please do join us on our website and register for our sessions. I'm sharing the link with everyone in the chat. And folks, wanted to give a huge thank you to everyone for joining us today. We really want your feedback and learn how to support you more. So do complete those short evaluations. I'd like to thank our expert panelists for their timely and relatable insights, Devon for hosting this and the upcoming panels and sessions for international students, and most importantly, all of you for taking time out for yourselves to join us this evening. We look forward to continuing the conversation through our newsletter, which you can check out for ongoing advice and tips, our social media platforms on Facebook, on LinkedIn, particularly LinkedIn. You'll see us posting about other job opportunities as well, and through our offerings of one-on-one coaching sessions. So do reach out to us, and please share any feedback and questions that you have to us on info@devon.ca. Feedback is a gift, and we would love to receive those gifts. So do share widely on your social media platforms and network. And as Bonnie was saying, you can even go on your LinkedIn and share a post about your experience today during this session and share some of those key nuggets I saw folks talking about in the chat. So welcome, everyone. Looking forward to continuing to connect with you. Have a great evening and journey ahead. Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck, everyone.